Autumn has always been my favorite time of the year, and even after 3 years of living in a city with 4 seasons, a sense of magic still fills the air as fall arrives. The beauty of change is so evident, from the shifting temperatures to the vibrant colors of the leaves and the cozy autumn outfits that everyone wears. There's something truly special about seeing the first hints of red peeking through the trees, feeling the crisp cold autumn air, and watching the sun's warm filter on the falling leaves. For me, fall symbolizes not just a change in seasons, but a time for slowing down and transitioning. It's a season that evokes excitement even as the days become shorter. I always say that if I were a season, I'd surely be autumn in a heartbeat. It's reflected in my entire color scheme and the activities I love doing the most. From scenic day trips and seasonal cooking to reflective journaling and everything in between, in this video, I want to share with you a collection of cozy, introvert-friendly activities that embody the spirit of the season for me. Before we dive into our cozy autumn activities, I'm excited to share that this video is a collaboration with my good friend Sarika of Sarika Studio. We'll be sharing how we welcome the warmth of fall, so I do hope you enjoy this video. I wasn't sure if I was going to travel this autumn, but I decided in the end to just stay in Berlin, or at least just do more activities here in the city, and luckily I didn't regret my decision. I decided to go to Potsdam instead. One of my favorite places there is called Park Sanssouci, which I already actually visited last spring for the first time. And I thought, I went in the spring. It's obviously going to look a little different in the autumn, so I decided to pay a visit and have a nice little walk. Park Sanssouci has a lot of palaces inside the vicinity, but I actually just like walking around because it's a very vast complex of trees. You get to see all the autumn leaves, and the autumn colors were breathtaking. They felt like straight out of a film. This time also, I came prepared with a pocket notebook and a brush pen. I wanted to draw on location to exercise my attention. It turned out to be great because it brought a lot of clarity to my swirling thoughts. I also played one of my go-to playlists on Spotify, and that really set the tone for my walk. I know this is controversial, but I personally prefer walking with a bit of music. Sometimes I tune out and then I listen to the sounds of nature, but sometimes when I hear people talk, I think this is the introvert in me, to be honest. I get a bit overwhelmed, so I'd rather drown myself in music that I really like. As an introvert, I often feel overwhelmed in outdoor and public spaces, but I discovered that sketching on location was a perfect way to create my own little bubble. I found myself fully absorbed in every little detail I wanted to capture. It was also a valuable lesson in simplicity. I learned that I only needed basic materials to draw, and that keeping things easy and accessible is key. This day trip led me to a lot of reflecting and realizing that everything, the good and the bad, can coexist, and that's okay. I allowed myself to feel everything and nothing, acknowledging emotions I usually set aside. And you know what? I realized that the things are actually okay right now, and maybe even better days are coming. I've also noticed that I've been speaking to myself more kindly and gently lately. I don't know what shift happened, but it felt like I was tending to my inner child who deserved all the love and care. There's nothing quite like enjoying a warm, comforting meal on a chilly autumn day. For lunch, I'm experimenting with this recipe I found on New York Times Cooking. It is spicy caramelized pumpkin with lemon and hazelnuts, and I thought to serve it alongside salmon and a salad. I have been figuring out how to cook pumpkin in different ways, and actually this is the first pumpkin that I bought for the year, so I'm very excited about it. So I roasted this for almost an hour and I turned it a bit, and I put a lot of aromatics to make sure that it would roast really well and also it would soften up, and it turned out really, really good. This is my lunch and I'm very happy that I made it. Another thing I was doing while I was waiting for the pumpkin to slowly roast was to try out this pack of chai that I bought, and I thought it would be too overpowering, but actually it turned out pretty good. I just added a dash of honey, and I needed something to fill me up because I had just gone from a very intense workout. So this bag of chai has like the spices and leaves all bound together in the same bag. So I've been enjoying this, and I'm definitely going to have more mornings with chai because sometimes coffee just doesn't cut it, and it's nice to have like a warm, comforting cup of chai when you want something that's a bit more filling and a bit less on the caffeine side. For me, nothing says fall more than lighting a candle, opening up my journals, taking out my stationery, flipping through my journal pages, and documenting about life as it happens. I love the Sarika Studio stickers because they fit my journaling style super well, and they complement the PT tapes and washi tapes that I've designed in autumn theme as well, which I'll be using for most of the journaling session that we're doing. I've also just been really in the habit of not just keeping one journal, which you've seen, the �〖𝚔𝚘𝚘𝚔. I also have started a passport insert, and I'll show more of that later on. Right now, we are catching up on the last few days of October. I've also learned this new technique from a meetup that you can like flip through the pages so that it feels more balanced with writing, especially now that we're on like the tail end of the year. I also went to the drugstore to have some photos printed out so I can be ready to document about the last few days of October, which I would say is like the peak autumn time. So I am maximizing that, and let's get to journaling. Usually when I'm using two journal inserts, I try to organize the photos in such a way that some will be used for the other journal insert, and some will be used for the main journal page. You might know that I don't actually print and put in a lot of photos for my �㾘𝚘𝚘𝚔. I actually use mostly stickers, but since we're in peak autumn mode, I thought it'd be nice to print out a lot of the autumnal photos that I have on my camera roll. They are all in the same warm color scheme, and I think it's because a lot of the fall activities have been in peak season, like, cooking more warm food and changing my autumn wardrobe, going on fall walks with friends. I think I've been to like 5 parks since the start of October. And all of these photos were just like a great way for me to do the big deed of printing them out, because I actually use a collage technique so that it's like you have a lot of photos inside one print, so then they print out really small, which fits the journal sizes that I personally like to use for documenting. So the ink from the stamp from the previous page bled through the next page, so this is me trying to salvage it. So instead of covering the whole thing. I just covered a portion of it, and then from there, I used the extra space to write out some text. Although I'm gonna say that Tuesday I didn't really have anything going on, except I was very happy to be very much alive and thriving at work, because the past October I've been just in the funk. I don't know if it's the weather or just like life happening, or a mix of just a lot of emotions, or maybe it's like Libra Scorpio season, but everything just felt kind of off until the last 2 weeks of October, where things started to pick up more. So right now I'm just really enjoying that wave of like enthusiasm, excitement, and just feeling more exuberant about life in general. The weather this time of year has also been pretty unpredictable, so anytime I see a sun in the weather forecast, I just step out, I make plans, and I actually got to co-work with a lot of friends also over the past week, so that was really nice. So I'm decorating the last day of October, and this was a very busy day. How meta. This is Abbey, past Abbey, editing this video. And I'm also adding a couple of elements from the PT tape I designed last year for autumn. On the left page, I'm using a 𝚖𝚘𝚃𝚘𝚘 creme, 𝚖𝚘𝚃𝚘𝚘 Eco Creme in extra fine, and this is inked with Diamine Red Dragon. I like it, it's nice. It's a nice, reliable red colored ink. On the right hand side, we have the pumpkin dish that I created. I just kind of put it on the bottom left to complement the left page. And this is the Lamy Safari in extra fine. And I'm using the Lennon Toolbar Sesame Oil ink, which is probably my current favorite fountain pen ink. And I got this at Stationery Fest. I'm very, very happy about it because the colors are just, it's a really great color. It's very reliable as well. I don't know if you noticed, but on the November month page, I wrote down lyrics to a song by Avril Lavigne. It's one of my favorite songs. I listened to it after so long, like a few days ago, and I thought to just write it down for November as like my mini mantra. On the left-hand side, as I mentioned, the 31st was a very busy day. I call it my R&D day, so I'm lettering R&D. R&D in business context means research and development. So that means like planning and organizing things for the upcoming year, which I will spare you the details and I'll tell you in a future video. But yeah, it was a very busy day. Lots of work, lots of meetings, and also just research and organizing and making content. So it was a full-on work day. So the format of this passport insert is pretty loose. I didn't keep it structured because I wanted to experiment on different ways I can document about my life, not necessarily through like day-to-day activities. And I have always loved writing and putting recaps, so I thought that since it's the end of October, it would be nice to use up the rest of Sarika stickers and create an October recap. So this is something also I do when I catch up on my travel journals. A recap really allows me to look into how a certain trip or a month went. So this is me writing down some of the things that really like made October really special to me. It can be something as simple as a really lovely cup of chai, or something a bit more like, oh, I went on a really nice walk, or I met up with friends. Personally, for me, I'm reading my list right now. I read a lot of books. I went to K-pop class for 2 Saturdays. We actually danced to Fire by BTS, which was so fun. I went to Potsdam on a whim. That was really nice. I really enjoyed it. And because of that, I also ended up going to another German city called Wismar, as recommended by a friend. I also surprisingly enjoyed that, even if the trip was quite long and the weather was not as great. But even the simplest things like seeing the leaves turn red and setting up plans for the last months of the year, it really puts things into perspective for me, as well as like transitioning into changing my wardrobe or like layering or getting to wear my Doc Martens. That's actually my favorite thing when autumn begins. I get to wear my Doc Martens boots and it feels so main character energy. I've also started to listen to my fall playlist. So these are so simple, but I really appreciate them, and they've become like special moments to me that obviously I would love to remember by. So that's what I wrote on this particular journal page. Here is a closer look at some of the finished journal pages from this video. I hope you enjoyed spending a couple of days in the fall with me this year. And let me know what your autumn traditions and rituals are. I'd love to know in the comments what's your go-to movie, favorite activities, and things that remind you of the season. Before we end this video, make sure to check out Sarika's video on how she spends her cozy autumn journaling and taking nature walks. I'm sure it's going to be super cozy and super fun. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.